Hello, everybody. Welcome back to NLC Division 2. By us being on your screens, that means two things have happened. One is that the timer ran out on our break. Two means that we're going to pick some bands immediately for our first game of the day. Blimey, I'm getting ahead of myself. We've got Nativz up against Rate. I can confirm that because of the delay, Rate have lost a ban over on the red side, so they're not going to be able to take one of those. Which, honestly, with as many champions as we kind of need to see banned in this meta, that could be pretty big.
But not only that, with Nativz opening out with a ribbon ban towards Naruto, uh, I'm predicting a very, very overloaded draft here. So we'll see uh, how things pan out with Rate losing this one red side ban due to, well, not quite getting here on time. uh, it's definitely an interesting thing to see now that the draft has opened up the way it has, with Gwen now being followed up. So I feel like we're just gonna see, at the very least, some of these power picks left up, right?
Mm.
If you're Rate, you could technically try and remove away, Lucian, Wukong, uh, or Talia, and then hope that Nativ's ban one of the other three. But it seems like they're just gonna remove away Jinx from the cards, and what I expect to see is probably most of those champions remain up, and Nativs take their pick of the litter.
I mean, I think it could definitely be a case of saying, hey, we know that a lot of power is going to get through. We're not going to take away anything from the really master pool in terms of what's the best on the patch. You can take one of those, then we'll get whatever's left from it. Because going for something like the Jinx, as you mentioned, it's not even the cream of the crop marksman at the moment. A lot of people are saying it's still very much an option, but not necessarily up at the very, very top end.
Yeah, no, not on 12-10 anymore. It feels like people have shifted, towards your Cogmores. Some to a degree, something like the Zeri as well. Lilia is what's taken away from
Mm.
Stille. And honestly, I kind of understand it. So, what will Natives pick with so many of these power picks up and available? And we get our answer immediately. It's going to be the Talia. So, what I expect now is to see the Wukong very easily, very quickly in response. And if you're right, you probably have to take away either uh, the Nami Lucian or the Lucian rather, because you're probably going to eat the Nami Lucian B2,
Ooh.
B3, or you can respond with the Senna. And I quite like this because now you have quite a few options for your R3, depending on how natives want to respond. Because, I mean, you could even technically, if you're getting super fancy, chuck the Wukong in the bottom lane with Senna. Some could used to see way back when the combo is still definitely very much playable. But what we've seen in more recent years, of course, Senna Tom Kent has come back. Senna Sion has also been the other quite popular one. And Naves are actually going to ignore the Lucian entirely. They're going to go for the Ezreal, so they're probably going to be sacking the lane a little bit, as typically Senna can kind of outrange the Ezreal in lane unless Ezreal is landing those max range Mystic shots, and even then she can sort of sustain through it with Piercing Darkness, as it's actually going to be Gangplank that gets rotated in at the same time, as it? It's definitely very interesting. So what I need to see now is a really strong mid lane 2v2 coming out from them. Otherwise, they've drafted Gangplank on the top side, Ezreal on the bottom side, and historically, you know, it's kind of hard to play to those champions in competitive play because they are typically utilized in a sort of low economy, weak side fashion. We'll see how they end up piloting it or whether they're just trying to go for outright scaling and get to a point where those champions, once they're online, it doesn't matter the early game as long as they don't fall too far behind. But the response was Seraphine. So Seraphine and Senna, high amounts of poke, high amounts of sustain. It's going to be a bit of a nightmare to get these guys out of lane, and they also get the opportunity to ban away two really ideal pairings with Ezreal.
Yeah, they get so take away the Yumi immediately. Of course, Seraphine could still go mid, so there is still a lot of flexibility here in the rate draft. The Nocturne we saw hovered earlier as well has been removed, so not going for that second support ban as you maybe would have expected. But of course, it could just be an option for natives rather than saying we'll give something really safe to sit back with this Ezreal. Go for something that is a little bit more engagey, something that's going to roam around the map and give some power to the mid lane, more so than the Ezreal, who they might just leave to sit back and farm a little bit.
Yeah, I think uh, sort of, especially when Talia's there as well. Talia, I think,
Mm.
probably strongest in the mid lane out of all the roles that she is playable in. So still has the opportunity to pick something, but I actually quite like, I beg your pardon, the Nocturne Man, because it kind of removes away double global, collapse on the side. You would have been dealing with three globals in total. And Olaf is going to be what comes in here. So Nulto's going to be piling that one into Lundorf. And right now, I feel like, great. have so many options. They have a lot of lane priority. Top bot, they're going to have counter pick on R5 for mid lane as well. Nativz are going to have their work cut out for them, to say the least, because it's Senna, Seraphine buffing up these 2 double bruises as is, and Errol's going to have the opportunity to actually, pick a mid laner which just fits whatever is necessary for either his composition or into Nativz. We're getting the spicy Sona coming in here, and Sona is definitely something that outscales a lot more supports than you'd probably think, and the Lucian didn't actually end up getting banned away, so it seems like we'll probably get this rotation in. It's a very safe blind in the mid lane. There's not too many things that can punish it. The Victor and the Orianna being some of the better answers, removed away by Nativz. So now Errol has to dig deep. I wonder if he will dig into something like his Cassiopeia or not in a situation like this, because I feel like Cassiopeia can definitely match the Lucian really well, but I don't know how her strength lies on 12-10, and whether or not Errol is really comfortable or the rest of Rate feels like it's the kind of champion that will fit in with this composition.
Or if they want to go for something super safe, super ranged, the Azir is still on the table if they want to go in that direction. And it looks like that is exactly what they're going to do. They've already got priority in the top and bot lane, you've got to imagine. And now it's just a case of saying, hey, you want to play around the mid lane, you want to play around this Lucian. We're just going to sit back with our soldiers and farm up a treat. So I really like what Rate has been building here. Nativz, how do you think they've responded to the draft there? It was very much Rate seemingly dictating the tempo in this one. Did Nativz find solutions?
I mean, I feel like this missing ban has maybe thrown the entire thing a little bit askew, right? I think maybe 1 or 2 champions up that maybe weren't going to be anticipated coming into it. But I think Nativz, some of the responses very clever. I think running the Sona into the Seraphine in lane or the center Seraphine in lane is going to help deal some of the poke. It's going to give the Ezreal some sustain, and you can honestly be a bit of a lane bully almost into a lane like that. I still believe. I'll have to see how the lane itself plays out. It could still very much be a difficult one to pilot. I think on the top side, Nativz definitely should be struggling. I would expect Nulto to have complete control of this lane. Dual boot if he wants to, can obviously go up there and really heavily bully the gangplank. I think if you even make one appearance up there, really mess with the wave state, and then allow Nulto to maybe hold a freeze, or you force Lindorf to miss a huge wave, then Nulto just has complete control of the top side. I think it's mostly about how much autonomy, how much control just by existing Rate have in most of these lanes, which is going to drive their early lead, or it should at the very least drive their early lead. I think Nativz are really going to have to play defensively, look to play around pockets of priority in the mid lane if they can find it through the Lucian lane into Azir and play the 2v2 of Talia into Wukong Azir, and then try and move it to either side lane. Or just sit and chill, and as long as you're not falling too far behind the neutral objectives, I think you'll be okay. But I do really worry about Rate's ability to scale into the later stages, even into Nativ's team composition.
They've got so much power that is available to them. Obviously, you look at champions like Senna, who's going to be able to sit back, firing massive amounts of damage, and we've seen how powerful and potent she can be in the latter stages of the game. But the team fight from Rate just seems so strong. And obviously, Olaf isn't built for the team fight. Not really someone that you look and go, oh no, 25 minutes around Baron is going to be an absolute nightmare when it comes to the 5v5 situation. But when he's going to be able to allow for Senna, allow for Seraphine to be doing some more damage, it's going to be a huge body just to get in the way and chunk people out. I struggle to see how Nativz are going to be able to respond to that when you've got champions like Ezreal and Lucian, who, as you're mentioning, Ezreal has got some range on him, but realistically, you're not expecting him to sit really far back during teamfight situations, throwing his Qs down and doing some damage. So a little bit concerned for Nativz, but hey, we've seen teams win with much less. And of course, they might have got these secret pockets that you can see as Rate moving into the jungle.
Yeah, I am expecting Nativz will have to pull out some of their spring split magic, their very strong understanding of the map states that can occur in the early game as a bit of a double ward, kind of. Misuse, perhaps, from Rate, but still, the information will be gained, you'd expect. If Snille does show his face down towards the bottom side in the first clear on those Raptors, which you'd expect. Talia will definitely do that. But yeah, like you were saying, I feel like Nativz are just going to struggle for the early stages of the game. I think there's too much priority that Rate, in theory, should be getting, right? I think Seraphine, Senna should be getting priority into Ezreal Sona, no doubt about it. Same thing for the top side, and even in the mid lane, if Errol wants to play for it, I'm pretty sure all he has to do is respect the potential dash in from Lucian, and that's about it. He can probably gain lane priority fairly easy. As Seraphine, it's a whole bunch of damage on that first trade. We'll be able to sustain back up, of course. Not the lane opening that you would perhaps want to see if you're back in the raid, boys.
No, and of course, Yopper also took a bit of a beating, but when Sona hits level 2, you've got to imagine that the heal will be taken and some sustain will be provided. So while bot lane, there is priority gained, there is range advantage gained by rate. It's not going to be a mad lane full of action you've got to imagine when it comes to two sides that are very capable of not only sitting off a little bit, but also very capable of sustaining up if trades are made.
Yeah, definitely so. Expect, if you're watching the HUD whilst the camera's away, to just see those health bars bounce back up and down consistently as those healing spells come through. It's going to be quite obnoxious, but you can see, at the very least, Real has priority on the first couple of waves. I expect once we sort of hit around level 5 or so, maybe the Azir will have a little more autonomy. But again, has to just more or less respect the potential of those Lucian trades. Can be very, very nasty in the early game. Dash forward, double auto Q, double auto. You'll quite quickly lose around 200 or more. Often at level 3 HP, PTA, etc. Very hard to deal with, but handling it well so far. Even as we got a quick look at it, has that bone playing kind of just knows his role right now, trying to stack a little bit of a wave, and this is all he really has to do, just ensure that the Lucian has as little priority as possible to give Jewelbull the opportunity to move into whichever side of the map that he so chooses. For now, Snille and Jewelbull will be clearing full clears on the opposite side of the map to one another, so they won't actually be meeting each other for now. I think that's probably to the benefit of Nativz for now.
Yeah, don't want to be scrapping in the jungle. You've got the Talia who is very, very strong in the jungle. Obviously can play mid as well and is actually going into the mid lane, getting the flash out of Errol. But not going to be able to find more than that. And actually, but their own flash, the Ignite and flash going down from Lucian as well. So actually looking at it, all things considered, might have been a bad gank.
Yeah, free for summon a trade. I'm pretty sure Errol's like, okay, guys. Stille and Ral no longer have flash, so if we catch them out anywhere, we know they're not really going to be working with too much mobility or safety for that matter. And now Nativz themselves are probably just going to have to respect that for a long, long while. So we'll see. But right for now, haven't really been too proactive in anything in particular. The bottom side of the map, again, we expect to kind of be a bit of a farm lane, a little bit of poke back and forth. But as the levels start to stack in, you know, sustain will kind of just take over. It'll be all about who can stack their tier first, if anything. As Jopper fully understood the assignment of his lane, he actually started tier. Those probably won't be doing too much fighting. But, Ping's coming down. They do see Jewelbull on those wards, but he's not going to be going for a tower dive or anything of the likes. But pings are coming down on the chickens, and Errol does have priority, so expect to try and see this one potentially stolen away.
I'm just keeping my eyes on the jungles. As you can see, Wukong has gone in to steal his chickens. You were, I was going to say alluding to, but it wasn't really an illusion. You just straight up said.
It was literally just happening.
But you can see Tully is hanging around. Might be looking for a gank in the mid lane. Actually, going towards Errol, who's going to run towards Jewelbull, who's still being chased by a couple of chickens. Does go down, and the chicken's not anyone in the fight. As you can see, there wasn't really much of an exchange, but the dragon will be started up. The largest chicken on the rift, the mountain dragon, should be secured out by Ray. Snelle's going to get some vision. Clock's actually moving up with Yopper, so there could be an exchange, which is something that we quite rarely see at the moment, which is teams actually contesting the first dragon, or feeling like they've got the ability to chase them off. And while there was no actual fight, it was aggressive positioning from Nativz there.
You know, actually, now that you mention it, I feel like we haven't really seen too many like Dragon 1 fights like how we used to. Like if a team was trying to take the first dragon and there was even the slightest opportunity to try and contest it, I felt like teams would go for it. Not exclusive to Division 2, actually, Division 1 teams as well. If a team tried to go for a cheeky take like that, it would definitely be fought over, but feels like 12-10 for the most part. Teams are just really content with giving first dragons over in many instances. I think it's just a lot to do with the enchantment that we've found ourselves in, where teams are just happy to kind of let it go. Scale up clocks. Seems like Goy's base stopped, unfortunately. Didn't go as far back as Jopper, so we'll have to deal with that. But on the top side, surprised to see Nolto hasn't actually found an opportunity to run Lundorf down yet, but probably credits to Lundorf in lane positioning. We've seen this matchup already play out in Division 1. Kerberos Shikari, or Shikari on the Olaf side of things, and was able to solo kill him by, I think, just on the dot level 6, as soon as he dinged 6. Just a 1v1 Kerberos. One of our more entertaining matchups we had in Division 1. So far, this one's been a bit chill out.
It's a real throwback matchup, Shikari Kerberos, for the old school fans of that one. Been around the scene for a few years. Obviously, Kerb has gone off and done things in Italy, like making European Masters play-ins a whole bunch of times. They've now returned onto that dusty lineup, the Icelandic organization. But as you can tell, again, it's been a bit of a slower one. I'm looking towards a Rift Herald. Could the Void thing create some spice, create some action, do you think?
Void Kraben? We'll see. For now, Nativz actually have a small window where they have double solo lane priority. So if Snille wanted to go up and grab it, he could, but seems like he's more interested in pathing down towards his camps, which definitely understand, especially with Rate having full control towards the bottom side as well. Seems like he doesn't intentionally want to go up his camps, but actually as he takes the walls, he's going to swing around, maybe take a look at mid, maybe take a look at the top side camps, but bottom side.
As Clocks needs to be slightly careful, but has that movement speed on the Soda. Going to get sniped out and take a little bit of poke on the backside, but will be able to float away. Still will just be clearing out the vision around the Rift Herald. Actually going to be starting it up as you can see Errol just clearing away that ward. Nolto and Lundorf are both thinking about getting involved. I can't see... No, it looks like Talia is just going to give up and move away. And once again, early objectives being contested.
Yeah, and this is the thing. It seemed like Jubu was actually going to be pretty content with giving that one over, but took a look at the map state. Nolto was already moving down into the river to deny Snille the opportunity to take this one down after the ward got swept away. It gave away his position. And not only that, Sin and Velocity also had priority on the bottom side of the map, so they just roamed all the way up just to ensure that they could secure this one. And they will. Herald goes over to Rate. Definitely a bit of an over-audacious attempt at a takedown, but it seems like it will be traded on the bottom side for this Dragon. So Nativz won't fully lose out, but they won't get that Herald as freely as they would have liked.
Guess my only thing, looking at the Rate play there, very, very nice to see the commitment and saying, look, we know that you might want to contest this. You've already tried to start it up. We're sending multiple members. Is that the Seraphine Sin roamed up to mid lane and then just had to roam back down. So wasting a little bit of time and maybe a tiny bit of pressure. Of course, if you've got the Talia down on the bot side, a dive could have been the offing. But again, that's something else that has really slowed down the game in this current patch, is the idea that tower diving, you have to have that top level coordination. You have to have the exact combination of champions. It feels like sometimes Liz actually going to move in. Sin goes down for first blood. Velocity going to stand on the tower, but could be in trouble as Clocks is moving forward. It's a 3v1 with the Senna hit by the ultimate, the Crescendo, but we'll be able to back away looking for the root. Can't find it. Ult backwards. Interestingly enough, but I don't think it would have been enough to kill Clocks regardless.
Yeah. I don't think that was killing Clocks, but still very funny to see the ultimate backwards there for on Velocity. And just a really nice play. Sin didn't even end up using his flash in the exchange. Probably could have gotten his way out of that one, but maybe scared to have still been hit with the seismic shove after the flash over the wall. Still finds himself first blood on that gank. Did, of course, not have the Herald. It was taken away from him. So imagine if Nativz had picked up that Herald, how many plays they could have, accelerated Yoppo and Clocks into off the back of that play. Just doesn't quite happen, but still, first blood, really good. Goes over to Talia. Now should be able, on the next base, to have a pretty decent inventory, to say the least. Jubu had a couple of bases in already. Sheen, Caulfields, Warhammer. It's not the first time I've done that this week. Speaking of items, actually, Lundorf and Joppa both have their first items. Lundorf, the Triforce, obviously a little more expensive. Impressive to see that level of farm happen, especially in the Olaf lane. Having already seen that matchup play out, was expecting it to be a little bit rougher, but honestly, Rate just haven't taken too much of a big advantage out of some of these lanes, considering how much agency they've had. And you can definitely say credit to Nativz to not be abused on that side of it.
Absolutely, and Jobu hasn't really done all that much, for want of a better phrase. while he's got this Rift Herald in pocket now, and could be looking to place it down his current in the mid lane, but is deciding against using it to assist the Azir any further. We haven't seen any big scraps or ganks coming through from the Wukong, and you can see flashes have come up for Snillia in the mid lane for Nativz, so that window wasn't really utilized in at all. Neither of those champions obviously going down with only one Snillia. Moving forward, going to burn Errol's flash, but needs to be a little bit careful. She now might be caught out. The Tillia does manage to step away as Velocity's there to defend, but again, it's just a flash for flash.
Flash for flash, nothing else will happen. And this is the thing, the last time that they were in the mid lane, they blew his flash, the Azir. They never came back to try and make something else happen. So Errol just effectively exchanges a flash yet again with the Nativz jungler. And they wave hands as they walk away from each other. But Jorbu in the mid lane with Errol and Velocity, and even actually Sin showing up. Expecting the Herald to maybe be dropped, but not happening. And Lundorf is just winning out heavily in the top side. Too many parlays eaten up by Nulto with that Triforce in. And Nulto, after level 6, I mean, before level 6, maybe you would understand not being able to find the window to run down the gangplank, but level 6, Lundorf has just been playing on the edge, it seems. Not really allowed Olaf to run him down, even in the slightest. And he's now starting to build himself a bit of a lead, as we actually saw the wall come down like this, I think on day 2, to try and deny the Herald. And when we actually see it entirely blocked away, I think it's going to get the charge off.
Naruto in a whole heap of worry up in the top side, as you were talking about. Just getting poked, bully, and forced to stay away from his own tower against the Gangplank, who we know scales so exceptionally well when it comes to itemization. And when time comes through, going to be farming up, getting that ultimate to do even more, and to have more cross-map impact, as it were. Both have teleport, but the Gangplank ultimate is going to be able to help out in team fights, regardless of where they are, going to be able to contest those objectives. As not actually moving forward, gets the ultimate coming through from the center, trying to run him down, has the Ragnarok rolling, so the slow does nothing. And Nolto, just like that, grabs the kill that he's been looking for this entire lane.
Yeah, and I mean, he was looking for that, you know, last 4 levels at the very least. Nolto just hasn't been able to find the window. Lundorf finally oversteps once, gets a little bit too overconfident because he's been able to bully out Nolto ever since he's had that Triforce. Just wasn't anticipating the center ultimate to come from downtown. Because of that, Nolto finds himself a kill with the help of his support, and now on the bottom side, Nativz trying to make an advance into the river. Well, at the very least, poke it out and allow Velocity to get slowed down, but I think we could end up seeing an outright 4v4 on this dragon.
Extra ultimate going to be thrown down just into Errol, though, as the dragon goes low. Will be secured by Jolbu, as Snell needs to be careful diving on forward. The Wukong uses that first tick of the ultimate. Should be able to secure a kill. Will be able to secure the kill onto Talia. Now Rate are going to chase forward. Errol looking for the shuffle, but a nice flash from Yopper. We'll see him under tower. The Crusader coming through. The damage coming down from the Encore as Yopper goes down. Velocity gets one last poke onto Clocks as Lundorf moves in to defend. But that's the kind of aggressive play we've wanted to see from Rate the entire game. They take themselves the dragon and the kills as well.
Yeah, they do. Still no flash from the mid lane gank, where he traded with Errol, and then Errol goes a step further, gets Yopper in that shuffle, and even though he is able to, I believe it was a shift into flash out of it, still goes down, got rooted by the center. Ends up falling underneath the tower. Great stuff from Rate, finally using a little more of their agency inside of the champions on the top side. Also takes his tower completely uncontested. I think Lundorf was walking to the bottom side fight, wasn't able to make it in time, so now Naves lose the dragon, they lose the fight, and they lose this top side tower. Fortunately for them, they only find themselves 1,000 gold down, but Rate, excellent sequence of play.
Now, the question becomes, is that going to spring this game to life? Is that going to be the thing that starts everything going? Is Naruto popping Ragnarok thinks about going in, but then backs away? Because I was extolling the virtue of this patch. I was saying, hey, look, even though things are taking a little bit longer and games are a little bit lengthier, we're still seeing action. We're still seeing play. Not this game. That hasn't been happening so far. 16 minutes in, 1-3. Gold dead. Even a couple of hundred to the good for Nativz. But the rest of the game has just been back and forth, farming up. Rate going to move on to the second Rift Herald. I'm keeping my eyes on the minimap. No one's really going to test this one from Rate because the recall timers are being utilized now. So this second Rift Herald could crack open the mid tower, because that one's already been taken pretty low, and you do want to gain some territory in that regard almost always, especially when we start getting towards third dragon and the first baron.
Yeah, definitely so. Mid lane tower be very, very valuable in being able to gain mid lane priority, turn that into more vision around the area towards whichever objective you want to fight for. Always super high value, but it was pretty low, so maybe they might end up leaving it as Snille is just gonna force Velocity to back in a slightly further retreated position. But yeah, Herald, we'll see. I think if all else fails, then we will see Julbo move towards the mid lane and actually just drop that Herald so they can get the tower. But if they could try and find the Herald charge on a separate tower with a little more HP, I think they'll probably be maybe slightly happier. We'll see though how they want to respond.
As we got members of Rate just moving into mid lane, it looks like they're going to be trying to go for that more organic push. Rift Herald is on Julbu, who's also moving his way mid. Actually just going to drop the Rift Herald immediately, so saying, look, we're not going to be able to push this one down with brute force in the next couple of waves. We just want to get this tower gone. And it's unlikely that Nativz are going to be able to put up any kind of defense to this, but they should be able to clear out this Rift Herald because it's very, very rare to see the Herald get a second charge at this level of play, just because teams are so good at rotating forward and utilizing defensive maneuvers to prevent any more damage coming down, because a second charge from a Herald, that could be pretty devastating when it comes to losing control of your own jungle, which no jungler wants to see. It's always very unpleasant. I was talking to a player yesterday who had been trying out Bel'Veth and said losing control of his jungle on Bel'Veth was one of the least pleasant experiences he's ever had in League of Legends.
Oh, I think the first issue was queuing as Bel'Veth, to be honest.
Yeah.
We'll see. I've heard that Bel'Veth hasn't particularly landed in the strongest of states, but maybe players are still getting used to the kit and how the champion functions. So
I think it's an Ornting where no one plays him, and then like 3 patches later with no changes, everyone just realizes it's actually really broken.
it could be. I mean, I've also seen things along the lines of it's kind of like a Master Yi type champion where it's super strong in the lower elos and kind of weak in the higher ones. So again, I think it'll take time for people to get used to it.
I hope it's not an Master Yi. Speaking as someone in low elo, don't need that in my life. Thanks very much. Don't appreciate champions like that. But we'll have to see when she's released on competitive if these players want to give her a go, give her a try. I'm sure there'll be a couple of people who will probably find some value in her with a little bit more time to prepare before she's released onto the TR, into the competitive play environment. It's going to be fascinating to see what... I want to see her in, like, Korea. I want to watch LCK Bel'Veth.
And I mean, you know, that's the interesting thing about the jungle meta at the moment is I feel like we're also kind of on the cusp. I felt like it would go one of two ways, right? With this durability patch, I felt like we would either get sort of utility bot like junglers, kind of like more Jarvans, you know, Zac, Sejuani's, etc. Or we would go the complete opposite direction and actually get junglers who just like scale and farm to ridiculous heights. And I feel like Bel'Veth could actually fit that profile really, really well, depending on how she sort of, you know, fits into, as you said, that competitive style of play, where the neutral objectives are always contested on cooldown. Whether or not her champion and her kit is really suited to that, seems like the answer is kind of no. But, of course, pro players will always find a way to make things work if it's strong enough. So, we'll see how it lands. For now, though, Rate did pick up that Cloud Dragon. Of course, Cloud Rift is what we have on the menu for our opening game of the day. And honestly, not too bad. A lot of very powerful ultimates on either side, which will highly be benefited from that as Velocity almost gets...
a lot of damage onto Velocity. We'll be able to get away, but the ultimate coming from Gameday could be enough as Velocity on a knife's edge does get away. Goodness me, that was close.
Yes, it was indeed. And I'd say quite interested to see Lindorf has gone for the Serpent's Fang. Obviously, a lot of potential shields to come out from Seraphine. The ultimate can just immediately dissipate that one. That was an attempted shuffle from Errol, has to flash out there. But also, of course, the center ultimate. So a lot of the shielding cut just by pressing the R key can be very, very valuable. It's more of a utility-based Gangplank build. We'll see what other items he decides to pick up on. He already has the Executioners in his inventory, so we'll be cutting down the healing with the barrel chains and any other damage that he can find himself, physical damage he can find himself, onto the Rate members.
And that build is very much the yes, I understand what your team comp is trying to do. No, I don't like it. You see, the very early execute called the Serpent's Fang, as you mentioned. Of course, that's going to be brilliant into the Olaf that he was a lane opponent of, because with the W changes, it gives a shield rather than the lifesteal now, so going to be able to cut through that one that the Olaf will likely want to keep until he's pretty low, because that's when you get those really chunky shields. It's a bit of a Tet vibe that we've got at the moment with him, but keeping my eyes on spawns of objectives as we're getting a bit of poke down in the mid lane, but Joppa might be in trouble here as you've got the jump in from Jorbu, the damage coming through, but Ezreal will be able to walk away from it. Will be able to say the same? Yes, he will, as he spins out of dodge. Bit more poke coming through from Velocity. Joppa moves forward, just so much damage, and there goes the Senna. As you can see, Errol on the side, maybe look towards Snilly, who goes very, very low, but does survive as well. People going low on the native side, but it looks like they should be all be okay to get away.
Yeah, and this is the thing, Sona's starting to scale into the game a bit. Joppa, 2 items as well. So much shielding can come out, and now Lotto potentially in trouble. Does have the Ragnarok if he has to get out of dodge. Well, be able to walk out with Seraphine in time, and great retrieve the tells between their legs. Lose velocity in the mid lane, and yeah, Joppa really, really strong. Super confident with Sona. Clocks on his back as well to just give him the shields and healing. Definitely kind of cookie car. Very close to dropping on both sides. But it is Velocity's health bar that gives out first. So we'll find themselves a kill there, but for now, just expect a little bit of Aram. Lindorf and Nulto really haven't been meeting on the side lane super high up either. And for now, both the junglers as well. Not really trying to look for too many plays. That was just dual boot sniffing out a bit of an opportunity as Joppa shifts forward. And again, something we have to continually talk about with Joppa. For all the positives there, you can talk about Nativz as a team and even Joppa as a player. Positioning has always been a bit of a thorn in the side of his playstyle. Always likes to be on the edge. As caught out by the sweeper, and that could actually just be an instant Baron. They have Sona for the healing up and the shielding as well. I think they're just going to go for the attempts at the very least. With no jungler, it's going to be a bit of a hard one for Raid to navigate, and they're going to start this one up, Will.
They absolutely are, but they're members of Raid. They know exactly what's going on, and the poke is going to come down. They've got the center, they've got the Azir, they've got the range, but I am below half health already. You can see Telly just trying to break up the team with the wall. Should be able to do so. The Weaver's wall comes down. The ultimate throw by Senna, but it's going to be the secure on the Baron. And now the fight's going to kick off in earnest. Another kill goes over to Nativz as Lundorf secures the kill onto Errol. The Azir falls. Raid. Nolto is going to look towards Lundorf. It might have overextended just a little bit. Remember, has the Ragnarok available. Will be popping it, but the damage come through to him is pretty big and has to dodge away, but so does Joppa, as the Seraphine ultimate used for disengage this time around. Rage have lost 2 members. They lost Baron as well. It's on 5 members of Nativz. Massive, massive blunder.
Yeah, big blunder. I mean, can't really blame Jorbu too much. He's on his side where technically his team should have had control, was on a sweep, swept, I imagine. Brush just didn't expect Snille to catch him out with the sweeper on the opposite side, and Velocity just got his one shot.
That's not pleasant. As you can see, the Tilia comes online, doing some damage, and Joppa's there, aggressively moving forward to pick himself up the kill. The fourth dragon of the game, rather, sorry about that, has been flown onto the Rift. Will be taken down pretty easily by Nativz. There's not going to be a contest there, but that means it's 2 apiece. So Dragon, I was going to say unlikely to be a big issue when it comes to Soul, because you're going to have to wait at least 10 minutes to get to that stage. However, both of these teams, if they're playing this one a little bit slower than we've seen previously, could see it, but it looks like Nativz want to pick up the pace just a little bit. A lot of damage coming down from Lundorf. One more shot will be all it takes to parlay for the kill, as they can look to press forward, taking down this inner tower. And you know what? They've got a little bit of a minion wave. There are 4 of them there. Could they look to crack open the base?
Yeah, I think they really could. Nulto's on the top side of the map. He's recalling right now. He was shoving out, trying to give Ray some kind of breathing room somewhere. Jorbu gets caught out. And all of a sudden, all of Nativz are on this inhibitor town. They're going to be able to take this one down. Will they get the inhibitor? I mean, they have the resources, I feel like, to do it. They still have the Gangplank armor. They still have... Ooh, Clocks' armor as well. They get chunked out. Let's see how this goes.
Damage coming through. Members of Raid need to be very, very careful. The inhibitor is the focus, though, as Nativz don't go for kills. They go for stone over blood, and they will be able to back away with their victory in hand. Bot lane inhibitor down. 26 minutes into the game. Jamada, how has this game gone from 0 to 100 so quickly?
I mean, this just feels like it's the patch 12.10. I was having that discussion with Orcs, actually, earlier on.
Oh, name drop.
Talking about, you know, the infamous MSI cast, the Orcs casts. Daniel Harris. Orcs cast. Very handsome, very successful. And we're talking about
Anything
how
else?
anything
Tall
else.
as well? Or...
Yeah, he's 6'1".
Is he?
He's 6'1".
No.
Yeah, I think so.
No. Orcs isn't taller than me.
He's about the same height as you.
Surely not.
Pretty sure he's 6 foot.
I
Yeah,
just always assumed that Orcs were short.
because I'm
I'm
5.
not-
I'm 5'10", 5'10 and a half ish, right? I'm not like much taller than that. And Orcs is taller than I am by at least an inch. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a second as Jorbu is being caught out again, and so is Nulto up in the top side.
Yeah, he's dead. He's very dead. We did manage to see Wukong escaping this time around. Jilbur was able to dive out, but goodness me, Nativz, they're just looking to keep the pressure on now. They haven't got Baron anymore, but the first Baron breaking open the base at this early juncture is definitely a success, definitely a win in my book as they move into the jungle. They just want to keep control of the resources that Rake could look to use to try and get back into this game. And Jilbur once again stepping up to try and get rid of a ward. Will be able to do so with the extended range on the Q, but Real is going to make him pay with half his health bar as the minions crash into this top tower in a Fools. Don't know if they'll have the staying power to go towards this inhibitor tower, particularly because they haven't got those Baron empowered minions, but looks like they're going to stick around to at least get some kind of poke as the Gangplank ultimate is thrown down to clear out the wave, and actually it looks like Nativz are going to be very effective, very professional in taking this tower low. It actually gets taken down by Yopper, who will be able to shift away. And Nativz, the beginning of the game looked pretty rough from them, but things have started to look very clean.
I mean, I don't even know if I would say rough, right? Because I feel like for the first 15 minutes, Rate just weren't really pressing the issue anywhere. You know, they could have maybe used Pyre from Errol to move Jorbu to a side lane, try and get a gank down, or try and deny, you know, the farming pattern of the Talia perhaps. But yeah, it feels like for the last 15 minutes or so, Naves have really had a very strong sense of control and almost a Korean-esque takedown of that inner third tower there. Drop the Gangplank ultimate, force everybody back, and just take the tower during the duration of the ultimate. Really professional is a very good way to put it. Very disciplined. Errol.
Who has to dive away. It looks almost like members of Rate have... I don't know, they seem to just be switching off for a couple of seconds. Maybe he was in shot, but we saw it from Jilbur as well over the wall when he was just stationary for his entire death. And it is a little bit of a worrying sign as now the mid lane inhibitor tower is the focus for Native. They're looking to press forward. It's going very low very quickly. It will be secured once again by Yopper on the Ezreal, but you've got Errol behind looking for the shuffle. Will catch through. That could be pretty big, but Errol is going to be deleted. He has to go golden to stay alive for a couple of seconds. War flashes over the tower, but will go down as members of Rake need to be careful. Jobu goes low himself and again has to go into statue form. They've already lost members. The jungle is down, the top's down, the support's down, and Sin also falls. It's a triple at the end for Ryle as they'll press forward. And what was a very slow game turns very quick, and it looks like it's going to be the win for Nativz pre 30 minutes.
Yeah, and this is why you pick Sona into things like Senna and into things like Seraphine, because just so much extra value from all of the statues they're able to provide in that final fight. Yes, Relay really took over that fight, and yes, Yopper and Lundorf were also dealing their fair share, but man, that was super oppressive to see everybody's health bars going straight back up to near full. And yeah, I just feel like Rate, you know, they drafted champions that were, you know, had a lot of self-agency. They had the opportunity, in my eyes, to really roll over, especially the top side matchup, right? I think Olaf, post 6 in particular, pre-6, a little bit harder for Ragnarok, but definitely after level 6, that's kind of your window to try and shut down the Gangplank. Felt like we didn't really get to see that too much. Lucian, into that Azir lane, it felt like Azir never really had much of a foothold for some reason. Even after, you know, soaking up that gank in the mid lane, it felt like not having the flash was all that it really took for Errol to have to just sit too far back to not really provide Jorbu with any priority and pressure, and we never really got to see any kind of early dragon stacking or things like Nativz with their draft, albeit we had some worries in the sense of it was full scaling, right? You only really had the Lucian to maybe lean on. They were able to get to their spikes absolutely fine, and once they got to them, it was near impossible for the double bruiser, you know, shield comp to play into what was kind of a stronger version of that composition with added benefits to dealing with mobility.
And that's just the thing, isn't it? Because Rate, they drafted all that stuff that they could use in the earlier stages. They drafted a lot of priority, a lot of winning lanes, and then none of that really came to pass. And at the end of the day, if you draft scaling and you can scale up, job's going to be good. And we're going to jump to a short break now. When we come back, it's going to be interviews with both of these teams. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few minutes.